The Alter Rebbe continues Daf Mem Daled 44, starting from Siv Gimel in the Behar on Eshab Seisai. To understand what's the lower level in Shabbos, we'll understand from Shvi'is. Shvi'is is called Shabbos Shabbosin. There's a lot of aliyas in Shemitah, but it's only B'yan Atzilis. That's why it says V'shov Shaha Oretz, because the whole aliyah is only in Oretz, which is Malchus Atzilis, the source of B'ya. That's why the only thing that's also is only to work the earth, which is Malchus, but higher Atzilis has no aliyah on Shemitah. Nevertheless, even though it's only the aliyah of Malchus and of B'riyat Tzir, but you have an idea by Shemitah that Adam and the Behama are alike. By Beer B'shvi'is, you have to throw out the paytas of the house if the animal can't eat any more oranges from the tree. Because it says, L'cho v'livhemtecho v'lachaya shabatzecho tia kol tvos, says the Gemara. If the chaya has oranges in the field, you could eat it. If not, no more oranges. You have to throw it out of the house. Why? Because it's from a very high level. Shemitah, where Adam and Behama are the same. Because there's Adam and Behama also in B'riyat Tzir, like it says by the Merkava. Pnei shir, pnei aryeh. And Achayis, Nesis, Shakise, they have a very high source. Just like a Merkava takes the person in the Merkava to a place where the person couldn't reach without it. Because the source of the animals is Mateo. But they felt that after everything is elevated in the Chayis, the Merkava, after the Behar, they go back to the source and tell you. So by elevating from B'yan to Atzilis and Shnas Shvi'is, Adam and Behar Shovin, because Atzilis is Makiv, the whole Bria, and is a Shoivev compared to Bria Tzir. That's why Shvi'is, since Bia goes up in Atzilis, Adam and Behar are alike. If there's no oranges for the Behama, there's no oranges for the Adam. Like it's explained. And davening Adenu Zenu Tzumis Kabenu Adenu Zenu is Malchus Atzilis, which is Atikli Bria, which is Tzumis Kabenu, which is Makif Bria. It's Makif Litzir. That's why Adam and Behama the Bria, even though Behama is much lower for Atzilis, they're both alike. That's why it says Moshe's Mamshech Das the Bia says it's a Tzedek, because Adam and Behama the Bria are alike compared to Moshe. Moshe's Mamshech, the most of them Das. And that's why by Kiddush Friday night, you bring Das to Nukva, which is Moked the Biyad, even Arne Shama should get Das, because Adam and Behama Shavim for saving alone. This is Pshat and Shabbos Tato, which Ali as B'yan Atzilis, which is amazing aliyah. But la'osid love, there'll be something much higher. There'll be Atzmus that's higher than all Makif, higher than Kav. And now it's Behelim and not Pshat. It's hovering over us because the Abish is everywhere, but we don't understand it. This is what it says. Eshab Seisai, my both Shabbos, Shabbos Tato, which is the aliyah of B'yan Atzilis, is Shabbos Shali. Because B'ya compared to Atzilis is Einadei. Says it's a that's why there's a mitzvah of a person to make sure his animal doesn't work on Shabbos, because the aliyah is of B'ya in Atzilis for Adam and Behama Shovin. Then he says, Tishmeru, you have to watch it. I give you a gift, but don't do sins that separate you from me. Even little sins, lies, haughtiness. This is Tishmeru, you watch it. Because it's Eid Makif, higher than Kav, and Shabbos is Makif. Even Shabbos Tato is Makif, not Gilui B'nefesh. Teiras pnimi, like he'll explain later. So tishmeru, it watches you, it hovers over you when a person thinks about something. Nevertheless, he's thinking about something and this concept is in his mind, surrounded by his mind. But the thing is not changed. So it's makif. So by the Rebishter it says, I, Hashem, know your heart and know your kishkis, know your kidney. He knows everything. The Rebishter knows everything. And not only it hovers them like machshove, hovers the concept, but not the thing. But the Rebishter knows everything, but still this yediyah is not machriach a person. He could still have free choice to do bad. Because since it's in such a lofty level of makif, a person doesn't feel it, it's only makif. So those is the pshat tishmeru. Tishmeru means what it hovers over you because it doesn't fully change you. Says the Tzemach Tzedek, like a person's thought doesn't change what he's thinking about. Even though you can't compare human thought to Hashem's thought, like the Novi says, because when a person thinks about something, it's not makif the thing, it's makif the idea. So that's why you don't change it, because your machshava doesn't touch it. But l'cheda by the Rebishter, it says but his machshava knows the actual nivra. But it says there's two levels of kale deyes. There's base pinis das. There's das elyon, which is only makif. Even though it's pepoil makif, not like a human machshava, but it doesn't force. It's makif meirochik. It doesn't affect a person. It doesn't force him. Just like a human machshava doesn't force or change anything. This is the pshat machshava, so them doesn't change anything, even it's only in his fantasy and thought. But the Rebishter actuals makif bepeil mamish, but it's not geirem aispilus, and it's only makif. We'll soon stop to explain. And this is the idea, there's a das tachten. Like the Malach asks the Eibishter, the Gemara says in Nida, Tipa zu matehei. And the Eibishter says Chochem. That's das tachten. Because the Eibishter says it. And the Eibishter changes him. But das elyon is makif, so it doesn't force him. So Shabbos is tishmeru because it hovers over him. It doesn't necessarily change him. Now, I remember Rabbi would have bring for us a whole night. Rabbi was speaking Aniden. The concept of yoideya and yodua. Yoideya, the Eibishter knows all the protein. That's das tachten. And it affects. Then there's your dua, that's the higher level. He knows everything. Like it says in the beginning of Tanya, we say here, the Gemara in Nida, that the Malach asks, Tipa Zumatei Olel. And the Eibishter says, but Tzadik v'roshalei ka'oma, that is still a pchide, because it's remained in the Maki Farochi. So once the Eibishter says it, it has to happen. But in the higher level of Makif the idea, it doesn't affect the person. We have to understand exactly how this works, because could it be different than the Eibishter knows? Bottom line, it's higher than affecting him. Fascinating. You look in the Rambam and Hilchos Tshuva. The Rambam asks, how do the Mitzvim have free choice? The Eibishter said that they're going to hurt the Jews. What's the Rambam's kasha, says the Rebbe? Not because the Eibusher knows what's going to happen. The Eibusher knows, but you have free choice because the makif harochik doesn't affect you. But once the Eibusher said, "Va'avodum v'ino eisomdeh," the Rambam has a kasha. We still have to understand the idea how the Eibusher's makif doesn't affect the person. It's the level of your dua. It's higher. Says the Rebbe further, is the makif the idea, the higher level of your dua, a good marshal for makif the Shabbos? Because the idea doesn't cause you to choose. It's makif mirochik. Because there's two levels of makif. There's makif, but it affects you. When a person davens with a minion, he gets affected, he davens with more chayes. Because it's makif hakorov, shemeir b'ir pnimi, it does affect you a little, but makif hakloli, even higher, it's not makif haroch hakorov, but it's makif harochik, doesn't change the person anymore. So Yediyah, that level of your dua is not machriach the b'chira because it's makif hamud. But Shabbos there's an neshama you say that affects the person, like we said before. That the anxiety of a yid goes down on Shabbos. Like the Baal Shem Tov says, the blood pressure is different. So there is this galus. So the Alter Rebbe says, could be this Maimon is the Lashon HaTemach Tzedek, that Shabbos Tato, Shabbos Elo are both makif. It says Shabbos is actually shmeiro, but Shabbos Tato is a makif hakodev, like davening with a minion, that it gets a spite. So Shabbos Elo is makif for Elliot. It's also explained elsewhere that Shabbos, the makifim of the week come pnimi, and the makif of Shabbos is higher. It's also explained elsewhere in the pasuk. Shom Rabbi Yisrael Shabbos Lasis is Shabbos. That through Shomru they get koyach to keep the next Shabbos. Like it's explained in the Maimer L'Susosi about Tala that comes from Atika on the three Sudas of Shabbos. That's the koyach for Sudas. Anyways, based on all of this, we could understand why the neshamas have an aliyah. Even though the neshamas are so high, but the ikir aliyah will be lost when Mashiach comes, because the neshamas are machshava, which is bri, and they go, and Atzilus Shabbos is aliyah and bri and Atzilus. But the ikir aliyah Shabbos is law, and this is the idea of the la'osid loving. The neshamas are from Ak, because all of machshava is Ak, and they go down from Ak to either terech aliyah to have Shabbos Shiloh, which Ak Odom the Bria goes in Atzilus, which is an Erin Sof Shlifnei Atzim Mamish. Now the Aliyah from Shabbos Shiloh is only Makif and Seven. But Lo Sid Lovi, this is Galos of Shabbos Ovkin is Gilui, and that's an Aliyah even higher than all of the Machshova, which is even if you say Odom Kadmein, because this is much higher. Remember, we learned in the Maimorim of Tzav. And the Pasuk V'achaltem Ochel, he speaks about the new neshamas that'll be born when Mashiach will come. They'll be from the Erin Sof Shalifnei Atzimtzum, higher from Kav, and they'll elevate our neshamas, like it says in Sefer HaGilvulim. It'll be in the 7th millennium, which is Shabbos Yilo Mamash. Chayre fragt the Tzemach Tzedek. Shabbos is Eile in Ak. That Ak is also Eile in Sefer Tzimtzum, but it says in the Maimon Tazriya that Ak is higher than at least the Shabbos. Question mark. Answers the Tzemach Tzedek. It says that even Bina is B'machas to Shabbos. He's higher than Shabbos. Bina. Bina is much lower than Ak. Because Shabbos, the Leila, and Shabbos, the Yema, the Aliyah of Malchus, and the Aliyah of Zoh. Bina is higher. And elsewhere in there, we find that Shabbos is Bina, but there's many levels in Shabbos. Shabbos, there's a lower level in Shabbos, that Bina is called Machas to Shabbos. But there's Shabbos Shabbos. There, Bina is Eila. So there's penis that levels in Shabbos, the lower level in Shabbos. There you say Ak is higher than Aliyah Shabbos. Then there's Shabbos Shiloh. Over there you say Ak is in Eretz Sof Shalifnei Tzimtzum. Like it's explained before a couple times in the Shmaime that by Shabbos it says Mikol Malachti Asher Bora. Or Mikol Malachti Asher Osa. Mikol Malachti Asher Osa is Atzilus, which is Asiyah. Ak is higher than that. But Mikol Malachti Asher Bora is also Shaykh by Ak. And look in the Arizal Likkutei Torah and the Parsha Likkutei Torah Shab Beis Shabbos had that Ho'elim. There's 8 Melochim that died in Parshas Vayishlach. So the Hadad is you say the Ak, which is previous Ak. So we see that even Shabseisai is connected with Hadad Ho'elim, that even Ak has an Aliyah. And look in Pri Chaim elsewhere it says Al Elatil Ak. And look in Taimei HaMitzvahs, in Parshas Behar B'Chilosei. Adam Maitzilo Elia means all the Netzolim, even Arich. Tzorich Iyun, to look in Sefer Al Gilgulim, Soif Perek Yud Zayin. Okay. We go further. This is Shabsei Seti Shmeiru, Shabbos is a Makif HaKodesh, and Makif HaDoch. This is Alti Shmeiru, you have to make sure that you shouldn't stop the Shmeir in the Ke'er of Shabbos. And this is Migdoshi Tiro, Migdoshi is Teira. Like it says, Mishachar Beis HaMikdash Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Be'elam El Dal Dam Shalalocha Teira is Nimi, because that's why it says Tiro, through having a year comes through Gilui Mikoreh. And then it says Vayaro, Vayonu, Vayamdo Meidochek, because they had such tremendous year, they had to rest up from the year, it was too much for them. That's why they were Vayamdo Meidochek. In the Kriyas, Yamsu to the Gilui, Yamsu says Vayiro, so that's why in Teira it says Tiro. Shabbos it says Makiv, it says Tishmeru. But Gilui Pnimi, you say Tiro, because Ani Avaya, because they're Eibishter. Is less mashovet fishabei, and he, the Eibishter, comes down in the air pnimi of Teira. Because you have a Yud, which is Timtzum, which is Chochmah. There's a tremendous Timtzum of Reshimo to create Chochmah. Then there's Hey Binar Chovet Aseicho. But you should know that this air that comes down in pnimi, which is Kav, which is Air Mein Amoy, you should know that it's all connected with its higher source, even though it went through tremendous tzimtzumim, that you should understand it. Ef Shalema says the Tzemach Tzedek. This is why he says Kab Beidus of Vicho V'Simecha close to Shabbos. And also in Parsha Kedeshim he combines the two mitzvahs. Ishi mivav tiftiron demashab seishet tishmeiro. Derech, like it says in Raya Mehemne, Doyu Teres Havaya, Doyu Kavod V'Ama, that Teres Shabiksav is Mutzra Vichon Teres Shabalteh, is Teres Simecho. Teres Er Pnimi. Shabbos is Er Maki, Zikulo Chad. I'm not sure exactly what he wants to say, or why the connection of Shabbos to Imi v'Oviv Tiro. I guess because Imi is the lower level, the level of Teres Shabal Peh, which you could understand. And Abba is a higher level. From Teres Shabiksar, which is higher. And you should know that Teres Er Pnimi, but even in this Er Pnimi, is the Er Makif, but Tzimtzum shines in there. Why is Teira called Migdoshi? So he says in Tanya Sefer Shalbein and in Perek Nun Beis. The Talmud comes from Bria, and in it is Malchus Atzilus. That's what it's called Er Pnimi Atzilus that comes in Bria. But Shabbos, not Atzilus comes in Bria like Talmud, but Shabbos Bria is El and Atzilus. It's Er Makif. That's what Shabbos Ilo is Er Makif. But you should know that it's kul echad. Eichel kodesh kodeshim is keser chochma. Keser chochma bina das and bria. And the nishmas eichel kodesh kodeshim is the eres from chochma bina datzilis shining in Talmud. Even if you learn Talmud, you have to know that in there tiro you have to have a yiddah because it's the same pnimi shining in there, even though it comes to the helim and levush of bria, so you could understand it. But in it is keser chochma bina das datzilis hamisneitzim. This is the B'shati Kanto Shabbos. Says in Priyetz Chayim that the letters Tikanto Shabbos or Tzisakobin Isel, the Rosh Tevis, are Tashrak. They are the 22 letters which are shining Mitato Le'elo. It says in Zayah what we said, Tov, Rosh Mishimalatik, Yem in the Lacy Kavosei. You start lower, going higher when you're counting from higher. Look, and the AC is Porchin Geavida. That it's Tesis, Erel, AC is Mavir Darechampin, Tashrak Vimusif. Tesis, Erel, AC, which is in Zun. But it says, As from Beinanim, and Zon, As from Din, and Malchus. And they get new light from Keser. And this comes from Malchus, the Ak, which is Tov, Shimon, and Shimo. This is Pshat. We learned that even Ak has Ali on Shabbos Ne'en Sev Shalifnei Ad Tzimtzum. And the Tov is the last Madrege Ne'en Sev Shalifnei Ad Tzimtzum, which is Shimo. And this is Bere Kedeshi Mishtabach Shimcha, that the Ak even Chochma higher than Ak is in Shimo. In Shabbos you go higher, and the Helim from Ne'en Sev Shalifnei Ad Tzimtzum shines in Ak, and Ali is through Tov Kitov Roshim and Shimo. This is where you say Tashrak the Shabbos, which is showing the highest levels of Shalifnei Tzimtzum, shining in Tikanto Shabbos, Dafki Musaf, which Musaf is Tesis HaKdusha. And this is Eila Shabbos B'Shabbate, that Shabbos, which is the Aliyah of Bria, Yitzir, Asiyah, Malchus, and Tatzilis. B'Shabbate goes in higher. And this is the Chilik from Asis and Erin Sof. Difference with the Eir and Shefa, that nothing is missing in the market. A person thinks and speaks it's only out, it's not safe to smoke for the neshama. And you could think a lot if you think another thing, it doesn't affect too much. Or the Eibusher doesn't affect the Eibusher, can make a lochashi. Nothing is safe for smoking for the Eibusher. There's no shino in the Eibusher. Like it says, Ani, a violation, nisivato kedem shnivra. That's why the order that comes from Elisha is atheist. And just like atheists don't affect the nefesh, the world doesn't affect the Eibusher. That's what it says. There's many levels. Just like a machshava, there's many levels. There's thinking, stamazain, and there's deep thinking. The element comes from the lowest level of the thinking. But the higher level machshavas, it says, Kilei mashavei seichem. The Eibusher is much higher, and he affects the Yiddish neshamas. The Eibusher is much higher, and his kodesh muvdal, and the machshava is very, very high. This is the Aliyah of Shabbos, Yasher Koyach.